Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my channel. I just got my curated bead box for this month called Sea and Sand, and so I am not going to do an unboxing. And in fact, I was thinking I wouldn't even do a video this month. There was an issue, and apparently my shipment just got left out when the boxes were shipped. So I have only just received it. So I'm not going to do an unboxing. And as I said, I thought, well, maybe I won't even do a video this month. But when I opened the box, I really loved the beads. It's just, so timely, and this is a very much a value box. So you get a lot of glass beads, but there's a really pretty mix. And I know that most of you have already received yours, opened it, and maybe even made things with it. But I started to play with this bead mix and I just really loved it. And I was playing with some of the cowrie shells that were in the box, and I started to just have so much fun with these beads. So this is what my mix looked like. Usually in a bead mix, everyone's is different. So I'm gonna kind of dive right in. Like I said, I was just playing and thought, well, I won't even do a video, but then I'm so happy with what I'm making, said let me share it with everybody. Maybe some of you still need an idea. So I'm working on a little memory wire bracelet, but it's a little bit unusual of a memory wire bracelet because I'm going to create like a charm bracelet or cha-cha style bracelet on a section of it. So what I did is took my snub nose pliers that are made for memory wire, and I put a double loop, just turned it. So I did that ahead of time so I could do some of this repetitive stringing, but I will show you on this end how I did that. And this box did have silver findings in it, but I have switched to gold because that's my favorite. So I actually pulled the gold memory wire from a couple boxes back that I had left over. And I pulled a couple of seed beads from my stash. I have these beautiful little turquoise, I have these beautiful little turquoise seed beads. The inside color is a rainbow light topaz, and they are sea foamed lines. So you get like a little bit of gold, a little bit of turquoise. It's very oceanic in my eyes. And then I also pulled out some of these from my stash. These are just little like tropical green, very bright green, and they just really work well with this bead mix. And so the plan here is I have done this side of the bracelet with mostly my sea foamed lined seed beads, and then I just did one of these peanut beads that was in the mix for a station, and another little section, like this is like color blocking, and then this little group right here with this peanut bead and these little kind of rondelle faceted beads, that's like the bead stopper, and this is going to be my focal. So then I just chose a little section of those green seed beads, and then on this side I have prepared a whole bunch of little charms on jump rings. So I just like mixed it up. I put seed beads on the jump rings. This is one of the peanut beads that has a little simple loop with a head pin. This one is one of those rondelle beads, and I just put some seed beads on a jump ring. These little wonky beads in the seed mix, I love them. They're like, the hole is offset, so it's almost like a little piece of art glass. And so those, I just strung those individually, and I just made a whole bunch of little charms. So I have a couple more to do, and I will do those with you on camera. So this is all I did, is a little ball head pin from my stash, one of the peanut beads, and I'm just making some little baubles, just some little, like movable sections to really make this a living, interesting, like moving bracelet. And I love my one-step looper for things like this. So I'm using the smallest size I have, the 1.5 millimeter, and I'm just going to get a little tiny loop on this component here. And I am going to add that to a jump ring as well, but I need to make some jump rings. And I thought, since I get messages from so many people that are brand new to making jewelry that I do some with you. I had one left that I had already made. So this is one of my favorite little bail making pliers. I really like the length of this, especially for making jump rings, because I start wrapping and I just keep going. And I also really love the ergonomic fit of this handle. Like it really fits in my hand very comfortably. And you know, I make so much jewelry, not stressing my hands is a kind of a big deal for me. So I'm just going to put my little piece of 20 gauge wire. That's what I'm using to make these jump rings. I love the soft flex wire. It has an anti-tarnish coating, so I can feel my wire sticking up, and I want to try to get as many jump rings as I can out of this. So I don't want to feel my wire, and then I'm just going to start spiraling by pushing that against my finger. And once you get it going, you may have to change your grip a little bit like I just did, but from there you just push the wire against your finger and make that little turn, just keeping the wire wrapped tightly around the mandrel of the plier, and just wrap all the way down. Now I have made a lot of jump rings in my lifetime, so my coils tend to be really tight and close to each other just because I've done a lot of this, but you will still get really nice jump rings even if your coiling doesn't look exactly like mine. And I'm just using the other smaller mandrel to chomp down on my tail because maybe I'll get another jump ring. And then from here, you just take your cutters on the flush side and just snip a straight line right up the middle. I try to do one at a time and not be ambitious or in too much of a rush and try to clip too many. You get nicer jump rings when you do just one cut at a time. And then any that I have left over, I put them in a little small zipper bag, and I keep them with my wire so that I know it's 20 gauge, I know it's anti-tarnish, and then when I reach for it for another project, I have some jump rings already made, and then I have one little turn that didn't make a full jump ring. And from here, this was super simple. Let me get my pliers. From here, I just opened these jump rings and made some charms. So like this one is going on just by itself because I really love the offset hole in these. I just thought they were so cute and just so perfect. I really had fun with this bead mix. Curated Bead Box is really a value box. You don't get real high quality gemstones and sometimes no gemstones, but they do really cool glass beads, really cool bead mixes, and lately they've been putting in some really nice unusual shapes, and I'm so glad that I did actually get my box this month. I was starting to be really sad and disappointed. I saw so many channels post their curated bead box videos, and I kept checking the mail and mine just wasn't coming, and I finally contacted the company and they saw that mine did not make the shipment. So anyway, I got it and here I am. So on these type here, what I just decided to do, let me find one. I just decided to put some of the little seed beads that I'm using on the jump ring as well as this little donut guy, and you just have to do that however you can. Like I hold on to my jump ring with my pliers and just scoop them on there and then put my other beads. Sometimes you have to get your plier out of the way. These are, I think this is an 8mm jump ring if I'm not mistaken. I never know the millimeter size of my mandrels on my pliers. I kind of make my jewelry with my heart. But I'm just threading beads onto the jump ring, and then the last couple of seed beads can be a little tricky because the jump ring is starting to get full. But I had fun with this, and I'm pretty patient with my jewelry making, so I made it happen. Whoops. So I got it on there, and then just close it enough to get everything where I need it to be, and then make sure it's closed really, really well. I will like to even put my pliers on the inside of my jump rings And I can see that that one is not perfectly lined up. Let me get it. That is beautiful. So another little charm is made. So I have my whole little pile of charms and some extra jump rings. And so my plan now is to just create this little charm section on my bracelet, and it's gonna move around. They're gonna go all the way around as the bracelet is worn. So I'm just going to basically put them on at random, and when I'm doing this, I'm just not wanting two beads to be right next to each other that are the same. I mean, two charms. Let's see, do one of these. And so let me get a couple on. Whoops, I needed a jump ring for this one. In this design, I wanted the charms that I've made to stay in that middle section, but I do want them to float on top of the seed beads. So my little simple loops on these peanut bead charms would be too small for that. So I just added a jump ring to that one. And let's see. So if you can kind of see, let me put one more on and then I'll show you the method to my madness here. Whoops. So if you can kind of see this little, let me hold it with my hand. So these are floating on top of that little seed bead section, and they will just move and dangle, and I'm going to fill it up with all my charms. And you could do, actually you could do just one here if you like that, or you could make this super full. I'm going to thread on what I've created, and then I have some more beads in the bead mix. If I feel that I need to add more, I will. And now can you kind of see that this little bead pattern here is my stopper for my cha-cha section, and I have saved out over here enough beads to repeat on that side, this little section, my seed beads, and then one more peanut bead at this interval. So I separated my bead mix so that, you know, when I go to finish this side, I'm going to mirror it, and this is going to be the top of my bracelet, the little busy section. So I'm just going to get all of these threaded right onto here. Like I said, I didn't want to get too many of my colors the same, but it's pretty random. Let's see. Oh, this is already so cute. Look at that. It is just like this busy. Doesn't this kind of look, I don't know, this has a very oceanic vibe to me. It reminds me of like seaweed or kelp, like a metaphorical. That is the cutest little section. And like I said, you could make this as full or as light as you wanted it. I used up all of these little peanut beads. I would have added a couple more if I had them in my mix, but between my earrings and this, but I'm really happy with that. So now I'm just going to repeat this on the other side, and that will hold my little movable section in its spot. So I'm going to create that same little bead pattern with one of these faceted rondelle shaped beads, another peanut bead, and one more of those little rondelle. And then I just have to count the same amount of seed beads that I did here, and I don't remember, I think it was 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So then I just have to thread on 12 seed beads so I can make this side match the other. 2, 3, 4, 12, and then my last peanut bead separated out. And I believe I had, you can see where I'm going, I think I had 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 26. So I'm just going to count another 26 seed beads for this last part. Last one, and then just going to move everything down. There is my little pattern, and I'm going to come back to my snub nose plier, and I used the smallest mandrel because I wanted this loop to be really small just because of the scale of my beads. I'm using these 8/0 seed beads, and I don't want it to be I didn't want my loop to be too big, and I am going to put some charms on the loops, but I still want a small loop. So same thing that we did with the jump rings, I'm just going to fit that in, and you really need a good grip because memory wire is stainless steel cable, and it's really tough. So like, get a good grip when you're going to make these loops. And I'm pushing all my beads in toward my other loop that is finished, and I'm just going to roll back, and then you will have to reposition exactly the same movement that we did with the jump rings. And I'm just going to roll this loop all the way back. You can do it a single turn, but I like to do it double, even triple sometimes. I like to really make it a substantial loop. And there we have it. Isn't that the cutest little, I have to try it on. Isn't that the cutest little, it has like a beach, like an oceanic vibe, and it's not too heavy, but it has really cute movement. I love that little bracelet. Okay, and then I did ahead of time the same exact thing that I did with my one-step looper for like these little peanut beads, and I just made 2 different charms with the beads from the mix, just kind of using in the charms all the different things that are in my bracelet. And I don't want to use those giant jump rings, so let's take, I might already have some made. Let's see. So this is what I do in my 20 gauge wire little stash when I've made jump rings. I just put the extras in this little bag, and then I know exactly what wire they're made out of, if it's anti-tarnish and all of that. So I can put these in my little zipper bag and put it back in with my wire, and then I have 2 little small jump rings to attach. And you could open your simple loops and hang these right onto the loops of the memory wire bracelet, but I always find things dangle a little bit better. They have a little bit softer, prettier movement if you give it the articulation of a jump ring. So that's what I'm going to do. Just add it right onto my double loop, and then just thread on one of my little charms that I made in advance. With a bead mix like that, it is really helpful to go ahead and separate your beads for what you're going to do, like your earrings or your charms, because everyone's, that's kind of the point of a bead mix. Everyone's will be a little bit different. And so, like, I only had one of these little chartreuse colored crystals. That was the only one in that color. So it is good to sort of sort through a little bead mix if you're going to be making a couple of projects with it. Same thing on this side. Just add that and add my beautiful little element. Lately, I have had like beach boutique things on my mind, and I've done a lot of jewelry so far this summer in that style, and this fits right in with that idea, and I think it is so cute. And because I have made so many other bracelets this summer, this can go in my jewelry wardrobe as a layering piece. You could, this is so cute. You can wear it alone, but look how adorable this bracelet is. I absolutely love the way it turned out. I think it's so cute. It's so easy and fun. And like I said, you could make this a bigger section on your bracelet. You could pack it with more charms if you wanted it to be busier. And the cool thing about this, since I did jump rings here, you could actually complete it like I did and then have a look at your cha-cha section and open more jump rings and just add them on until you're happy with the fullness. I'm pretty happy with mine, but with these bead mixes, you could definitely take more jump rings and continue to add in if you wanted to. So this cute little project is done. I'm going to scoop this bead mix. I am a person who does not work well if things are messy, so you'll probably notice me taking the time to clean up my mat before I move on to the next thing. That's just me. Okay, everything that we need for these little earrings is in this little seashell. Look how cute this is. So I was just playing with the cowrie shells that came in the box, and I decided to make like a stick earring with the drop. And I know this is not a great camera angle, but this little cowrie shell just really moves like a little pendulum. It's so flirty and fun, and a little earring like this with just a white top would just light up your face and make you look polished and pulled together in the summer heat. I absolutely love the way that it turned out. So the first thing that I did is dump out my cowrie shells and go through the entire bag to find two that matched pretty well, and you could choose whichever side of the shell you think is the prettiest. I love the architecture. This kind of looks like a fossil, so I like this side. And I wanted this crystal to be in, like, nestled in this little groove in the shell, and that's where I wanted it to stay. And full disclosure, I actually broke one of these trying to do this with wire because it is just a really delicate little piece of glass. So what I ended up doing is making a jump ring out of 22 gauge wire, and it is a 10, I think this is a 10 millimeter jump ring. And so what I did to make this work is open this jump ring, and that was the other trick. Like, all the cowrie shells in the box had little holes, but some of them were kind of off to the side, and since I was doing earrings, I looked for two shells that were the same, as close to the same as possible, and the hole was kind of at the top. And I just threaded that little delicate jump ring in, and then I'm taking the crystal and I'm putting it on the front of this cowrie shell and getting it down. And so you really have to close the jump ring while the crystal is down here in front of the shell, because until you do that and keep it there, it wants to come around and not be nestled right at the top of the shell. So that was kind of the trick. And until you get your second part of the earring in, it's really possible that it doesn't stay there. But before, I'll show you kind of what I mean. Well, maybe you can see here. So this little addition of my drop really keeps that crystal like right in front of the shell. And on this, I even overlapped my jump ring a little bit. It's very fine gauge wire, and I just really wanted that. I really wanted that crystal to stay there. So it's a little bit of a strange way to close a jump ring for sure, almost making it like a split ring. If you can see what I'm doing, I overlapped it a little bit, and I'm just like making sure. So it's almost like I made a little split ring. And then the next step is to take a piece of 20 gauge wire and put a simple loop in the bottom. And I always go to my one-step looper. It is so great for, especially for earrings, because both earrings will be exactly alike. The loops will be exactly alike. My loop is a little bit wonky on this one because of the way I put the wire in the tool, but it's okay. I have to open and close it anyway. So here I can just add it. So here's where you have to make sure that your little crystal is in place before you add your simple loop to it. It's a little bit open, but not open enough. Let's go again. So I'm just going to put that on with the crystal down here in front of the shell, and now I will make sure it's closed really well. Get my plier in there. Okay, and now it is just a matter of stacking the beads for my second earring exactly as I stacked them for the first earring. So I started with one of these dark blue rondelles, then a turquoise, then another dark blue, then a crystal. Isn't that pretty? I only had a couple of those in my bead mix, but they're so pretty. And then I use those like chartreuse or lime, very tropical green seed beads as my spacer, and only 4 of them, but look what they do. Look how they light up the darker beads. I am such a huge fan of seed beads. They are workhorses in design. I think they get overlooked sometimes by people who are not bead weavers, but they make fabulous spacers. They make fabulous ways to extend gemstone beads. If you have a strand and you need it to create the length of a necklace that's longer than your strand, a seed bead in between each of the gemstone beads, and you have your length, and it really sets up the gemstone to be seen. I really love seed beads. They're amazing. And like this earring only used 4 seed beads, but the earring is a totally different look with the seed beads as opposed to without them. So I'm just going to check and make sure that I did my stack exactly the same, and it looks good. And I am using one of these kidney shaped interchangeable ear wires, and I think this is such a good idea. So the orientation of my loop, and I'll tell you why I think that's such a good idea. If you've been around my channel, some of you may already guess, but I'm going to do my loop so that it's going the same direction as the loop on the bottom, and that way my cowrie shell will be facing forward on the ear wire. The orientation does matter, and you can always use 2 pliers to change the direction of your loops after you have made it, but it's, if you know what you're doing ahead of time, you might as well do it correctly. I was just looking to make sure that I did a wrapped loop. I lost my thought because I want to match the other earring, and I did do a wrapped loop at the top, and I'm just kind of, while I'm holding it with my plier, just making sure that my downward bar is nice and straight, and I'm just going to put a 90-degree bend in there, and I need round nose pliers for this. And we don't need a very big loop, so I'm just going to stay down here near the tip and wrap that wire over the top mandrel of the plier, rotate it out of my way, and then bring, whoops, I don't have a hold of it, and then bring it around to the front. And I like, the camera's a little bit in my way, but I like to kind of roll my wrist back, and before I remove my pliers, just make sure that loop is centered on my earring. And then from here, just get a hold of that loop and wrap right down to my beads. And like I say, if your loops became misaligned, you can take 2 pliers like that and straighten them, and make any straightening that you need to make. And then I'm gonna snip and tuck, what we always do when we're doing wire wraps, snip and tuck. And that little second earring is completely done. And why I love these kidney, I forgot that I had these in my stash, but why I love these is if you get a box like this and you want to make several drops, you can just have 1 pair of ear wires, and easily they're interchangeable. Whoops, I put them on. Well, actually that was the other reason. If you wanted to change around the way that you wear the earring, like on seashells, sometimes both sides are beautiful. So if you wanted to wear it this way, you totally can, but if you're like me and you prefer this side, you can string them on these ear wires that way. Now, if you've been around my channel, you've seen that I love these gold-filled interchangeable lever back earrings, and I can link these below because this is what I wear, and I'm putting like nice high quality metal in my ears, and these are really easy to take in and out of your ears and to open and close the lever back. But I had these in my stash and they are a great alternative. So if you're doing gifts and you want to create like several drops and give your friend just one pair of ear wires and several interchangeable drops, if you sell at craft fairs or, you know, online, this is also really great for people to have the interchangeable possibility. So this is so pretty. I love this little set. It was kind of unintentional. I basically just got my box, just opened it and thought, oh, you know, I'm not going to do anything with it this month. But I couldn't help myself. The beads were just screaming at me, and I'm so thrilled with the little designs. I think they're just adorable. It's two sweet, simple projects. Anybody can do them, any skill level. And, you know, we did get silver in this box, but I switched it up to gold, but this would be really pretty in the silvers too. So I will put a link in the description box to Curated Bead Box and my discount code if you are interested in receiving this box. It is a value box, but it's really a good box, especially for new people, because you're not wasting gemstone beads for practicing wire wraps and things. We get long strands in it of glass beads, a lot of marble style glass and crackle glass, which I love crackle glass, and really cool bead mixes. As you can see, I just could not ignore this little bead mix this month. So check the description box for links to anything I've used that I think you might be interested in. I always link my tools. And if you have not sent me pictures of your pets, your little furry face supervisors or feathered supervisors, my email is also in the description box as well. I hope everyone's having a great summer and you're all safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry making friends. See you in the next video.